Reiki is literally translated to mean universal life force energy.
I believe that Reiki helps people to fight any kind of disease. But can Reiki help us live longer?
Welcome to the show, where we discuss time-tested and science-supported tools for better health, long life, and pleasures.
Hi, my name is Lillian Zeltzer, and for almost 4 decades, I researched, practiced, and hunted for natural stimulants for better health, longevity, and pleasure. In the process, I discovered many time-tested and science-supported effective natural stimulants and met numerous amazing experts who, together with me, share their knowledge in this show with those who want it. Because, as Hippocrates said in the 4th century BC, if you are not your own doctor, you are a fool. On this note, I would like to talk today about another natural stimulant that was invented in Japan in the 19th century. I'm talking about Reiki. And our guest today is a powerful Reiki master with over 2 decades of experience and a background in cardiac nursing. She is also a founder of an internationally acclaimed soul Reiki, health, beauty, and wellness. She successfully guides people towards well-being, longevity, and pleasure by applying optimal integration of spiritual and physical aspects of our beings. So let's hear how you can benefit from Reiki. Welcome to the show, Soulara Sevier.
Thank you so much, Lillian, for having me. I'm excited to be here and share about the powerful benefits of Reiki.
Reiki. Is it how you say it? Reiki.
Yes,
It
Reiki.
was invented in Japan in the 19th century. It is a form of non-invasive therapy that is based on an energy practice that aims to increase the well-being of a person on all levels. How they say, mind, body, and spirit. Now, I understand that you also worked as a registered cardiac nurse and were also trained as a concert therapist. What actually triggered your initial interest in Reiki?
Yes.
And how does it actually work?
Okay, so Reiki is literally translated to mean universal life force energy. And as you so eloquently stated, Reiki was really downloaded into the heart and mind of the founder of Reiki, which is Dr. Mikao Usui. He had an experience where he wanted to make more of a positive impact on healing individuals with not depleting himself of energy. And so he went on the process of learning how to do that. And the information came through as Reiki. And the way in which it works is the practitioner gently lifts blockages from the body of the client. And some people prefer a hands-on method, but then there's also an opportunity to do a hands-off method where the energy is just ushered up from specific energy centers of the body and just transmuted into the energy and space around the individual. So it's more of a harmonizing that takes place of the energy inside and outside of a person.
Right. But what triggered the actual initial interest to it? Because it is such a secluded subject and not well known. What was the actual trigger? Did you ill yourself or your family, and you were looking for some sort of treatment?
I'm so glad you asked that question. As you mentioned earlier, I am a former practicing cardiac registered nurse. And for me, that experience of over 16 and a half years really drained my body of energy. And as I was going throughout work, I realized that I was really not able to do anything outside of work. And so I was depleted of energy all the time. The only thing that I could do was muster up that energy and just go into work for my 12-hour shift and then come home just super, super tired. And so things compounded. I knew that something wasn't quite right, but I didn't really know how to address it. And so days just went on. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and then of course months turned into years. And so what happened was one day I was working and I stood up from the nurse's station to go and check on a patient. And in doing so, I had to grab a hold of the desk. I almost fainted. And so that was just something that frightened me. I had to actually end up telling the nurse manager who was working that day as well that something was going on, and I almost, passed out. So instantaneously, I became a patient. The same sorts of tests and procedures that I do on my patients was now being done to me as a cardiac patient. And so I stayed in the hospital overnight, and fortunately for me, there were no diagnoses that were attributed to me. They didn't know what had happened or what caused that episode. I was given a cardiac referral to, go and see someone after discharge. But I knew within myself that things had to change. I knew that I was distressed. I knew that there was a lot happening in the nursing industry, and that I had not been doing my part, prioritizing self-care. And so I made up my mind as I was leaving the hospital, literally, that I was going to prioritize myself. And intuitively, not too long after that, I literally heard the word Reiki. I know it sounds a bit different, but I literally heard the word Reiki. And so I started doing research on it. And upon reading the benefits and how Reiki is administered, I knew that this was what I wanted to pursue. And so I found a Reiki master teacher. I was initiated onto the path. And literally my first Reiki session was actually when I was being initiated to become a level 1 Reiki practitioner. So I didn't have all these, sessions beforehand. I just knew that this was it. Not only did I want to have a Reiki session, I wanted to practice Reiki and help clients prior to being like a patient in the hospital.
So we can say that it treated your condition of being burned out by the job.
Yes.
That is applicable on all levels, on emotional, physical, and mental level. Because a lot of people run businesses or are subjected to very intense life, family affairs, relationships, work, friends, technology, if you wish. So all that can be treated with Reiki. But in your professional experience, what other illnesses that can be effectively treated with Reiki techniques?
That is a
stage
yes.
People should reach out to you for help.
That's a great question. I would suggest reaching out to myself or a Reiki practitioner that you are familiar with as soon as you realize that something is wrong, something is off. We each have intuition, and oftentimes we may not know what's going on, but we know that we need some assistance or some guidance. And oftentimes I get clients that will reach out to me and they will say, I don't know what's going on, but I feel that there's something that's blocked. They can articulate it in a way that lets me know that they are aware that they need some assistance. And so that is when I would come in and, assist them with lifting. And I always tell them I do the heavy lifting. It's their job to do the maintenance, once I'm finished, but I do the heavy lifting. And so with regards to illnesses, I take it back to the energetic component of everything. Everything is energy. And when the energy is free flowing, it's unobstructed, we call that wellness. Like I feel well today. Energy is moving and flowing, ebbing and flowing. But when energy becomes stuck or blocked and it stays that way for a longer period of time, we move from the energetic appearance of this stuck energy into more of a physical component of energy being stuck, and it manifests as what we call illness or dis-ease. And so at that point, things can still be improved with Reiki because again, we always go to that root cause, which is energy, but it takes a little bit longer. Once that stopped energy or blocked energy becomes a physical manifestation and it's given a name, that is where it's more challenging to the individual because they may allow lower frequencies such as fear, disbelief and doubt to come in. And so Reiki takes a little bit longer in those cases to, sort of produce a positive shift in such as a diagnosis versus their period of being well. But ultimately, it's energetic. And if we can catch it early enough, we can do the work with Reiki to help, bring some positive shifts. But if it progresses to something that's more physical in nature, and then there's a diagnosis attached to it, then it may take a little bit longer and it depends on the individual, but still there can be improvements that are made. And then ultimately recovery, because our bodies were created to heal themselves. But as we know with the barrage, as you mentioned, Lillian, of electronics, and we have mental stressors, family stressors, and all kinds of things happening, those can sometimes bombard us and make it a little bit more challenging. We can still do it, and we'll still need a little bit of assistance, but it can be done. It just may take a little bit more time.
So in summary, I can say that I believe that Reiki helps people to fight any kind of disease because it activates inner body to fight it. And especially if it's supported with medication, it will work even faster. But can Reiki help us live longer?
Absolutely. We are speaking on the same level with the possibilities of Reiki and healing and unblocking energy. The whole point of living and thriving is to have unobstructed flow of energy, where the energy is moving and there's no stagnation. When things tend to slow down, that is where we tend to see a manifestation of dis-ease or even aging when things tend to slow down. We've heard the term, if you don't use it, you lose it. And so that is an example of being able to keep things moving and flowing. And of course, happen in life, right? There are different situations that come into our life that cause us to pause or to sort of ruminate a little bit if we experience grief or different changes in career and family. There are some opportunities for us to embrace those situations, but at the same time, find a way to tune in and tap in, or in my case, get some assistance to kind of help lift that heavy energy so that the individual can process and move forward within their life. So as far as living longer, Reiki in and of itself is that universal life force energy. And as I said, keeping those energy channels open, making sure that we have that nutrition, for example. We want to eat more of those high vibrational foods because everything works together because everything is energy. Making sure that we have that proper hydration, that we're getting that rest that we need. The effects of having a Reiki session can actually be prolonged, and that can most certainly contribute to a healthier and longer lifespan. I wanted to comment on, we hear these terms of what is the life expectancy of a male or female or based on where someone is located. And I believe that it really depends on the mindset of the individual. There are many people who have outlived sort of that standard age in their family. And they often say like, well, how did I outlive? My parents, passed away at 60 and the person is 80. Well, there's some things happening internally from the will of that person and, making up their mind and making a decision to live longer and healthier. So it all comes down to energy, and making sure that the energy is moving and flowing. And if there ever becomes a roadblock, getting some assistance to help lift that heavy energy, and then including things such as nutrition and hydration and rest so that the body can progressively heal and move forward.
You said it, Soulara, and I totally agree with you. And at the end of this episode, I will share with you an amazing yet very simple and effective recipe for longevity that I learned last year while on expedition to Sardinia from their centenarians. Sorry, it always twists my tongue. Reiki works through body, mind, and soul, right? It is known to rebalance our mental state and with that allow us to have a conscious control of our emotions, like experiencing deep orgasm or falling in love. But how does Reiki can help us combat the biggest challenges that stand in our way to building a great career, getting more money, establishing long-lasting relationships, etc.? Can you explain that phenomena?
Absolutely. What you explained, those are sort of those pointers for what we call happiness. And what we have to actually keep in mind is that happiness is, number one, individually unique, because what makes someone else happy may not make another person happy. So whereas someone may want more money or more love, someone else may just be happy with just more love and not so much the money, and vice versa. So we have to keep that in mind. What makes each individual person happy is unique. If we can tune in and tap into the happiness that already exists, what makes us happy? Being able to speak and see and walk and connect and cook and, have these physical experiences that you mentioned, Lillian. We have to know that when things happen outside of ourselves, we have to look at it from a different perspective and not attach a happiness factor to that. And so maybe use that for a learning experience, whatever that challenge could be, if it's a job or if it's, a divorce. Okay, well, what can I learn from this job? What can I learn from what happened with the marriage? What were the signs that I overlooked in these particular situations? Still keeping a modicum of that happiness factor there. I mean, there are going to be moments of sadness and having, to overcome certain thoughts that may come to mind. However, ultimately, that happiness factor should never be attached to anything outside of the person. And if blockages come from, experiencing something traumatic, as things do occur, that is when you call in a specialist such as myself to help change that perspective, help to modify it, help to lift those heavy energies. I actually worked with a client recently who had an unexpected death in the family, very unexpected. And so as you can imagine, that happiness factor is not really high on her list. However, me coming in, offering some support in nurturing and guidance with regards to energy, lifting that heavy energy that sometimes can't even be articulated, can give her a moment to pause and to breathe and to conceptualize some other connections to what her new normal is going to be now and what she would call being happy and knowing that she can get back to that state.
Absolutely. Well, and now is the best part of the episode, where I would like to ask you to give us a taste of the Reiki power by sharing with us a couple of exercises that our viewers can do on their own. Is there such a thing that you can share?
Yes. So we're going to do 2 exercises. However, we're going to start with one premise that is very important, and that is the understanding of what Reiki is and being open to the possibilities of the energy that Reiki can produce and how it can help a person. For instance, if someone does not believe that Reiki can help them, then it's not going to work from the aspect of their mindset. If someone is dead set on saying that it's not going to help me, well, then they're not open to receiving the energy that would be exchanged. So we have to first tap into ourselves and tap into the possibility of what Reiki is, which is universal life force energy, and it can create great change in our lives. And so with that being said, once that is clarified, the first do-it-yourself exercise would be to close our eyes. And we are going to imagine a golden thread. This golden thread is located at the bottom of our spine. You can call that your sacrum or the seat. And imagine that golden thread circling your spine and moving upwards. It is passing through major energy channels called chakras. This golden thread is Reiki itself. And as this thread is winding up through the spine, it's clearing energy. And so this is imagination of Reiki energy in the form of a golden thread. And as it's going up until it gets to the top of your head or your crown, rest and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. The Reiki energy has completed its journey, clearing and opening up energy channels and energy centers, helping to balance the body, mind, and soul. And so that is a do-it-yourself number one option. And number two, with our eyes still closed, if there is any discomfort in the body, in a leg or an arm, an itchy scalp, or anything of that nature, if you would place your hands in that area, and we're going back to our golden thread, which we are imagining is Reiki energy. And imagine the energy as your hands are touching that part of the body that is feeling discomfort. Imagine that thread coming from your body and into that area that your hands are touching and clearing up that discomfort. So that's Reiki energy going into that area, causing a sense of peace and wellness and healing. And use your intuition for how long that you will hold your hands in that location. But that is the Reiki energy directly coming from you and being targeted in that specific area, because everything is connected. And once that exercise is complete, then you can open your eyes.
That's amazing. I thank you so much. I enjoyed both experiences.
So, well,
Being open to Reiki, I definitely could experience that my shoulder that I actually twisted yesterday lifting some weights, while I was in the gym. Well, it actually feels better. I can't say it's completely gone, but it is better.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Well, I have my own little thing that I say, let me try. Take both hands for added pleasure and rub them vigorously together to start the life force energy moving through your palms. No, honestly, I'm being just funny. I learn fast, but I'm not Reiki master. Far from it, and I will never learn how to do it properly. For that, you need a professional like you, Soulara. But on a serious note, Reiki is an effective natural stimulant that promotes good health, longevity, and the emotional, physical, and mental pleasure that we all want. So please don't hesitate to consult with Soulara in person or online, and her details will be under this video. And on this note, on behalf of myself and our viewers, I would like to thank you, Soulara, for your time and for sharing with us some useful Reiki secrets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lillian, for having me. It was a pleasure.
If you enjoyed this episode, Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you won't miss any of the new episodes. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions, please put them below the video. I do read them. If you are looking for a good, reliable source of specific ingredients, experts, services, or products, click on the resources link under this video. To health, long life, and pleasures.